Yeah, I mean, I hope they get a little less stressful as my career goes on. But no, I mean, just a ton of credit to Bethune-Cookman. They, came into the game looking at last year. They played 5% of their defensive possessions in zone. And, we had one game film on them from this year, a scrimmage a couple weeks ago. They played 2 or 3 possessions of 2-3 zone. And then they come out here and play half the game, if not more, in like a matchup 2-3 zone. So their coaches did a phenomenal job of just kind of throwing in a wrinkle that we really weren't expecting. We should have done a better job as a coaching staff of getting prepared for anything. Kind of similar to what we did to Memphis. They kind of had us off balance early. We kind of got stats. That's what the zone does. It kind of gets you stagnant and it gets you standing. And 5 assists on 14 made field goals in the first half is kind of the result. And I thought, too many times in the first half, as opposed to just executing our offense and just running our stuff, it kind of got to be my turn. And we took some tough and some bad shots early that, led to 13 points in transition for them. 13 of their 37 came off of turnovers and just bad shots, I thought. So, but that's, honestly, like similar to the Oklahoma State game, first game in Neville, kind of expect some of those things, some of those early jitters. And to play against a team that's just super talented. There's a reason why that team's picked to win the SWAC. They got a former McDonald's All-American, Arterio Morris, a guy that, we kind of looked at, when he was looking to come out of junior college. And, you look at some of the Hetty brothers are just 2 tough dudes. Ruzon punches in the mouth early with 6 early ones. So just a ton of step up on their end. A team that is not traditionally a great 3-point shooting team. They banged 12 for 22. Now, we got to do a better job of contesting shots. We closed out so many times with our hands down and, kind of allowed them, to make open shots. And at this level, anyone can do that. So I'm proud of how we responded late. We got down, what was our biggest deficit late? Like 2 or 3, a couple times late in that game. And our guys just kind of stayed locked in and stayed focused. And obviously, an undisciplined foul by Elijah sends it to overtime. But then I thought in overtime, our guys did a great job of making plays. And for us to go 20 for 22 on free throws in the second half in overtime, we obviously made free throws when it counted. So it's good to learn from these games and a win as opposed to a loss. But we got a long way to go.
Peter?
Defensively, they made 12 threes, shot 55%. How much of that do you feel like was them just stepping up and hitting shots versus things that you felt like y'all could have controlled?
Yeah, I think it's a healthy combination of both. In the scouting report, we wanted some of these guys to shoot threes. Arterio Morris is a career 20% 3-point shooter, and that's in Division I and in junior college. He goes 3 for 5. The Hetty brothers are 20%, 25% 3-point shooters. They combine to go 3 for 5. So, between those 3 guys to go 6 for 10 from the 3-point range, obviously is going to be a boost, for them, obviously in the stat sheet. So, they made some tough mid-range jump shots. Those are always shots that you want the opponent to take, but we didn't do a very good job of contesting those shots. Like a lot of time, you're going to see it, and we're going to watch it on film. Guys just closing out with their hands down and not just giving an extra effort just to put a hand up in their face. And anyone at this level can make an open shot. So I thought it was a combination of them really stepping up in a big environment, in a big moment, and just playing really well. It was a combination of us just not doing the small details that we've repeatedly talked about over and over to finish possessions.
Far left, Nathan.
Steven, can you talk about the 5 spot with Murphy kind of being in and out? He said in here he kind of rolled his ankle early in the game, and then Sway having to play so many minutes at the 5 toward the end and making a ton of big plays.
Yeah. Sway's going to have to play, 4 or 5, maybe 3 at some point, because he brings a different level of toughness for us. 15 points, 6 rebounds. He made a couple big free throws late. I don't know what he go in the first half. Was he like 1 for 5 maybe, or 2 for 6? But he made 2 big ones late, so he stepped up and kept his confidence. 3 assists, no turnovers. As a freshman, really good. That lineup late, it was great because the last 5 minutes of the game and then in overtime we talked about wanting to switch everything. And I thought late in the game and in overtime when we executed that, we were able to make plays. Kevin Overton got switched. onto to number 23, and he just fully fronted the post like we talked about in the scout, and they couldn't get it into him or they turned it over. Elijah Freeman, instead of just letting them run their offense, went out there and made plays in overtime. So that lineup is a lineup that will defend and for the most part will rebound, and they did a really good job late of making plays, and we had some big step up in a difficult situation. But Keyshawn Hall, KO, Tahad played way too many minutes. We got to be able to lean on our bench a little bit more. And obviously, in a close game like that, one that you have to win, we relied on our starters and we kind of roll with those guys. And ultimately they made plays late, but we got to be able to find ways to play more guys, more minutes.
Right, Mike.
Coach Burrow, can you talk a little bit more about your defense and how you get this group playing traditionally on a championship level that fans are used to seeing from Auburn?
Yeah, I mean, that's we gotta realize, remember that we've been fortunate enough to have some of the best interior defenders in the history of the game with Walker Kessler and Janai Broom and Dylan Cardwell. We don't have any of those guys this year. So for me, I got to do a much better job of getting creative defensively. We should have been doubling the post. I didn't expect a 6-7-5 man to give us those types of fits, but he did. So we're going to play much bigger and badder boys, especially in the SEC, but then in the non-conference. So we got to do a better job of mixing up our coverages defensively. But at the end of the day, like we showed against Memphis that we could be in gaps and guard guys one-on-one. So it's there. It's just a matter of going out there and executing it. And we didn't do a great job of that tonight. And we let them be way too comfortable. So we got to do a better job of just creating more offense from our defense. They only had 13 turnovers, which is something that, we got to do a better job of because we scored a ton of points off of turnovers against Memphis. And we just got to make them a little more comfortable. And with 10 new guys, though, Mike, it's something that's going to be a work in progress. You know what I mean? It's something that we got to find a way to continue to improve on each and every game. The teams that we've had that have been so good defensively is because we've had retention in the roster of guys that know what we're doing. And also just to be blessed with some really, really good interior guys that can clean it up around the rim. We only had 4 block shots, and typically we're blocking 10 or 12 shots a game. So we don't have that backline defender like we normally do. So we got to be a little more creative, and I got to do a better job of putting our guys in position to be successful.
KO gets like 3 steals in the end of the game in overtime. Has a big turnaround jumper. Just kind of the clutch play from him. I know he's the vet in that backcourt. How much did you see him kind of step up and when y'all needed him the most there late?
Yeah, no, I mean, KO, is just a winner, and made a lot of winning plays late in the game. But I need KO to be doing those things, the entirety of when he's out there for 34 minutes and not just wait until we have to get it done, right? So he obviously made a big shot. Didn't make a 3 tonight, but made 3 big free throws. And then the 4 steals were just, him going out there and just making plays. And, I thought our guys responded really well to, some adversity. And, we get into overtime and, find a way to pull out a tough one. So proud of KO. He obviously had a lot of step up late.
Back Greg Davis.
Stephen Murph said that the guys gave you a game ball in the locker room after the game. I saw you share a moment with John Cohen. Just what are the emotions walking off the floor as a winning head coach for the first time?
Well, it's actually my second time.
No,
it was good. A little bittersweet just because I would have liked for us to have played better. We didn't play great, so obviously I'm thrilled that we found a way to get the win. But my mind is immediately going to all the film I'm gonna be watching tonight and just trying to find ways to get better. It's an incredible opportunity I was blessed with, and I can't thank John enough for trusting me and putting me in this position to lead this basketball program. And the fans came out tonight and just really supported in big numbers. And I thought late when it really got going in there, it really gave our guys the courage to find a way to step up and make plays. So I just I know Auburn fans are tired of being told to be patient, so we're going to get our asses to work. But we, it's a group of 10 new guys, so it is going to take time for this group to learn, to grow, and to get better, and that's something that we're committed to doing every single day.
Right.
You're close, Stephen. Just wanted you to look back. 11 years ago, you started as assistant strength coach. What are some things you remember maybe from your responsibilities back then and how far you've come since?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Doug Shows before the game, the referee, and I was a walk-on at Tennessee and playing garbage minutes as a player. and to, you know, go from that to, you know, being a sixth man on a team that went to an Elite Eight and, you know, been to the tournament every single year at Tennessee, to going and, you know, slugging around medical sales for 4 years, and like you said, to come here and be the assistant strength coach under Coach Damon Davis and do operations with, you know, one of our deputy ADs, Jared Benko, back when he was here earlier in his tenure, you know, to then becoming an assistant coach, to the defensive coordinator, associate head coach, and now the head coach. It's just a wild journey. And, you know, one of the things that's been really cool about it is I've had so many of the same people in my corner along the way. You know, I walked out after shoot around today, and I had like 12 of my best friends show up to shoot around, and like, man, like it's a lot more fun because you get to do it with people that you love. And you know, I love this staff, I love this team, you know, I love my family, I love my friends. So you know, it was stressful as hell, and you know, but at the same time, like that's why we do this, right? Like, we got into overtime, and I literally looked at the guys and I said, we're gonna play free basketball, you know. And it's just like trying to enjoy those moments and really pour into those moments and lean into those moments and use them as opportunities just to grow and to learn from one another. So an unbelievable journey, obviously, to get to this point, and just incredibly proud that we were able to find a way to win. But, you know, obviously our commitment is, you know, and the expectation, the standard has got to be higher. So we're gonna get to work as soon as I get out of here and try and find ways to get better.
Take a few more.
Steve, you talking about Tahadi had 5 assists. I think he had 5 assists maybe the last game.
Yep.
Probably trying to find his shot a little bit, but he's still distributing the basketball. Just kind of what he means, even though he's not always scoring lately, kind of what he means to that offense.
Yeah, I mean, 4 for 13, 2 for 9. You know, he's not shooting great percentages right now, but like you said, for him to be able to still find his teammates, get 5 assists, and, you know, he made a couple bad turnovers, but, you know, he's just trying to be aggressive and trust his team. So I want Todd to shoot all those shots, you know, 5 for 13, 4 for 13, 2 for 9. Like, he's obviously got to make more, and he will. I'm not worried about that. If we're able to win close games without him playing his best, obviously that's a good sign. You know, we have other guys on this team that can obviously carry some of the load. You know, I didn't know Murph had 17. You know, Keyshawn Hall with 28, KO with 13, and Sebastian with 15. So his team's not one-dimensional offensively, and that's, I think, a really good thing for Tahag. That'll take some of the you know, the focus and concentration off him in the scouting report. And then once he does start making shots like we know he's capable of, you know, it's obviously going to be a good thing for us.
Yeah, Steve, 2 quick ones. Just one, is Mac still trying to get back to 100%, and that's why he didn't play tonight?
No, Mac's healthy. I think it's just a matter of, you know, shortening the rotation a little bit and just, you know, kind of going with the guys that, you know, have played in these situations. You know, I think Mac's got an opportunity to be a really good player for us. He's just got to stay patient and stay right and stay ready, because his number is going to get called at some point this year, and that's how it's always been in this program. So, you know, if we're not going to offer much resistance at the rim, it's going to be something that we're going to look at pretty seriously as far as inserting him and playing some more minutes, because, you know, while Phillip played so well against Memphis, you know, he wasn't nearly as good tonight, and he's got to do a better job in the minutes that he's out there. And Murph, you know, to only block 1 shot, he's got to do a better job of getting vertical at the rim. And Mech's a guy that you know is going to rotate, you know, whether he's supposed to or not, he's going to go rotate and block the shot, even when I tell him not to. That's just how he's wired. So if we can't offer much rim protection, you know, we may have to reevaluate and look. But Mech's obviously got to continue to grow, understand the offense, and he's got to slow down a little bit. Once Mech slows down, he's going to be a really good player. So we're going to continue working with him and continue to obviously try and build his confidence. And, you know, I think his time will come.
Yeah, and also Elijah, you know, led y'all plus minus,
Yep.
tied for the team leader rebounds again, had that ridiculous dunk as well. Just what did he give y'all tonight, and what he continues to give y'all that may not even necessarily be, you know, high scoring?
Right. I mean, 9 points, 8 rebounds, 2 steals, and then plus 10. So he just affects winning when he's on the floor. And there's still a lot of things he's got to clean up defensively. And I told him after the game, I was like, you spent, you know, you spent 27 minutes just kind of allowing them to be comfortable. And then in overtime, he just decided to go out there and make plays. And when Elijah goes out there and just decides to make plays defensively, that's when he can become a lead. And that's what's going to be a separator for him as far as if he's going to play at the next level or not. So to obviously, you know, have a really undisciplined foul to send it to overtime the response that young man showed, he's a sophomore, guys. He's young, obviously. It showed when he fouled, the 3-point shooter at half court. But for him to be able to pick his head up and go out there and then make some really big plays late, that's something that we can work with. And obviously very proud of him for bouncing back so quick.
One more.
Coach back here in the back. Me and you, we actually talked at your introduction. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things we talked about was, how you will motivate your guys to
Right.
To finish. So, what was kind of the message going into that overtime to them, and what do you hope they're taking away to build on for the next game?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as we sat down, they all looked at me, and I just smiled at them, and I was just like, "This is awesome! Like, we got to play free basketball. We got to play 5 more minutes of Auburn basketball." And that was the only 5 minutes of the game we played Auburn basketball. So you got to keep it light and lively in those moments. You know what I mean? Like they can't see you sweat. And in that situation, we just we had to keep it light and say, listen, we got an opportunity to go out there and win the game now, right? We gotta respond from a tough situation late. What led to 3 free throws? 60% free throw shooter, banged three straight ones. So made some big shots right there, but. Our guys did a really good job of responding. They got the lead early in overtime, and our guys just kind of stayed with it and found a way to make plays, and obviously, ultimately get our first one of the year.
Coach, thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.